Shut up, bitch. All right. Cool. All right. What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing?
Yeah.
It's another week. Another podcast. Another podcast episode.
All me.
We got a special guest this week. It's been a while since he had some guests on the podcast, but
this nigga's not new.
He's not new to us. He's new to them.
He's not new to the podcast before. He's not new.
Been on here at least once. I think once or twice.
No, yeah, once.
He's been here before.
No, he knew. Anyway, so it's the homie Michael. Apparently, he's been here before. I don't know.
Yes. Did we pull a proof?
Yes. But this week we're here to talk about, since the NFL draft just happened, I think it's only fitting that we finally do our college football episode that him and I have been trying to do for the fattest minute. And it is about time that we get it started, especially with the draft just wrapping up.
Panthers.
He is a Panthers fan.
Saints.
He's a Saints fan. I'm a Seahawks fan.
He's also still in the draft. I'm not gonna bullshit you.
Yeah, I think the draft in general was. I can't say shit because we didn't do anything. We just got defensive players. We didn't do shit. We never do shit during the draft. We never do.
But you'll always get the best defensive players there is.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the problem is, it's like, what's funny is like the Seahawks. They'll be like, the Seahawks are up on the clock. I'm like, all right, well, who the fuck did we get? We got some random who's a what's it from Texas, and all of a sudden, 3 years later, he's like the best linebacker in the league. And I'm like, okay. And so people get mad at me because they're like, well, the Seahawks don't ever do anything. I'm like, that's because they have the system where they'll pick some weird, obscure, like 70 overall niggas, and then they put a developmental trait, and then 4 years later, they got the Legion of Boom 2.0.
Yep.
Yeah.
Literally.
That's what they did. I mean, we got Devon Witherspoon. He was cool. We got a wide receiver from Ohio State. We'll see about him. And then we got literally nothing but linemen. So
that's what you need to protect Geno Smith, though.
I know. I'm super excited. What is y'all? I don't even know what y'all.
I think Geno still could be a franchise quarterback.
I think so too. I think he finally has a team that he can actually do shit with. And I'm really excited for it because
we picked up the defensive tackle and Brian Brees, defensive end Ian Foskey, a running back Kendra Miller, offensive lineman Nick Salvadori. I don't fucking know how to say that. You got Jay here from Fresno State.
How many picks did you guys have?
Like 9.
Like 9 picks? Damn.
Like, was it that much? Because I'm counting 7 here.
I think they only.
Oh yeah, y'all traded 2 away.
Traded 2 away. How'd you get all that money from free agency, Saints? Crime.
Can we talk about that for a second? How the fuck do the Saints manage to keep signing people? And we're like,
and y'all are supposed to be over the salary cap by like $4 million.
I know. It's called crime.
The NFL will allow it. Nigga, why?
You ever heard of the cartel?
Every fucking year.
You thought El Chapo runs a cartel? No. Everybody knows it's the Saints. Everybody knows it's the Benson family. It's the Benson.
I think it'll be a very interesting. But what I wanted to talk about, the draft was great, but I wanted to kind of indulge because I discuss this a lot with a lot of people. Is college football is not what it used to be. As somebody who likes college football way more than I like the pros, I am very invested in college football, and I'm very invested in like what programs are doing good, this, that, and third. But college football has gotten very boring, in my opinion, to the fact that we see the same teams every year do the same thing. And I've talked about this.
It was good to see TCU get their ass whooped.
And I was going to get to that. My problem is
who would have thought TCU would have made it that far?
My problem is, this season was different, and we are getting different things with Texas going to the SEC, and we're getting USC going to the Big Ten, and we're getting
so is UCLA.
UCLA is going to the Big Ten, and I think Cincinnati and UCF are going to the Big 12.
Right.
Texas coming to the
Pac-12?
SEC.
Isn't it the Pac-12?
because it's competition is what it is.
Yeah.
And my problem with that is it's eventually gotten to the point where who the hell is gonna play Texas or not Texas? Who the hell is gonna play Georgia? Or who the hell is gonna play Alabama? And that's a problem to me. And this is why I wanted to bring Michael in. The problem is where the playoffs are a thing. Everybody knows that they have the playoffs.
Right.
The system doesn't work. It doesn't work because look at March Madness. You have teams that are ranked, and then they go down to teams like, what was that one team that went on a fucking run during college basketball? It was like some insane upset. But that's my point with college basketball is you have these teams.
I'll pull it up. Y'all keep talking.
That upset these bigger ranked teams in college football. So why can't they do that? They need something. San Diego State. Thank you. They need to do the same thing in college football because it's getting very, very complacent, very, very fast. And I think the NCAA committee knows that, but the only reason why they don't change anything is because they know where their money is coming from. And I feel bad it's like if you don't rank top 8, all you're getting is a confirmation award with these bowl games. These bowl games, in my opinion, don't mean dog shit. Because yeah, you get more money, you get more funding, great, who the fuck cares? But it doesn't mean anything. And I think what they need to do is they need to implement a system where they need to these top 25 teams need to play for something instead of just, oh, well, here's this branded bowl game that no one's really going to watch, but you're not in the national championship. So good luck next year. So I wanted your thoughts on how you think where the problem lies in the NCAA playoffs, what should change and how you would change it.
Well, I would say first off right now, I think they're about to expand the playoffs, aren't they, to I think 8 teams now, some shit like that.
Supposed to be 16 teams.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing. That's going to definitely count towards the top 25 teams in the nation. I also think that this new NIL deal stuff that's going on has really changed the game. The NIL deals, they're giving millions of dollars to these 18-year-old kids just to go to San Diego State, like you're saying. Have you seen the basketball player that has one arm, bro? He's got an NIL deal. And he's got some random ass school that's now going to get known, recognized, get all this funding now because, oh shit, now we got this big old talent because we're paying him all this money. So I think that's really what's going to change everything because of the fact of last time when we were before, this is actually what I was on here last time about. We were talking about college sports. And this is what we said is they need to start paying the players. And that's exactly what they're doing because now competition can be spread out because we're now fighting for the best contracts. Alabama already made it known that they're not going to give out big NIL deals. These kids are going to be like, oh, I only get a scholarship just to go to Alabama. Yeah, fuck that. I want some money while I'm at school too.
Right.
So I think I would say in the next probably it's not going to be very quick, but I'm saying it's slowly starting to make this change because we've already seen Alabama go down now. They're already at the point where it's hey, they didn't even have the best recruiting class. They've been having the best recruiting class for the past 10 years or so. Georgia didn't even have the best recruiting class. Colorado's coming up on them because they got Sanders and he's going to give out these deals. All these other teams are coming out with these NIL deals to bring these kids in because they're hey, if we can't compete just by saying we're this school, then we'll pay you to come here.
Here's my problem with that though. I'm glad players are getting paid and they're getting recognized. No 18-year-old kid should have a $2 million deal fresh out of high school. That's a fucking problem.
No, here's my thing
I think that's an issue.
Well, I think they need financial literacy to go with that. At least have a financial literacy class to go with these college kids.
And I think that is a big thing. And I would also say as an athlete too, we also have a different mindset because we have to grow up fast. If we want to make it to pros, we have to act like a pro since the time that we decided we wanted to be a pro. So yeah, they send this money at us and hopefully a lot of them are probably going to, you send money at people, their real self comes out. But a lot of these kids are actually some good kids. So they're going to make use of that money, be all right, yeah, I'm making this money, but I'm also going to be yo, let me help the school out with this being yo, I'm the brand or I'm the sole person in this brand, but I'm gonna make this brand the biggest brand that I can.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying like all kids are like young kids
I also
are
think
like
it depends on where the kids are coming from too. Because my thing is, you take a kid from the ghetto who grew up with not having shit to all of a sudden having millions of dollars. He's gonna probably blow through that shit. That's why
that's the problem.
That's why I said you need financial literacy.
But think of this. This is also going to change pro sports because they're going to give these kids the money already, and they're going to see the kids. They're going to be like, "Oh shit, I got all this money." Da 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 da. Those kids ain't making it anymore. They aren't going to get lucky anymore because now they're going to see, hey, this kid got all that money. Why would we draft him? Why would we take him if he's going to do that? He just got some money, so why are we going to put that money into him if we know it's just going to be wasted? It's changing the entire landscape because now it's going to be like I have to keep my act together, even though I'm 18 years old making this money, instead of being like, I just got college, I just got scholarship, so fuck scholarship. I can still play on a walk on. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now it's really being like a personal thing. Like they have to be a certain way specifically. Like, hey, you want this money, you got to do it like this.
I'm glad Michael said that though. Like, because if I'm like the GM of like, the Buccaneers or some shit, and I see some kid who's like blowing through money like crazy, I'm like, I'm not giving this kid $100 million. Fuck no. He's gonna be broke within a year.
Mm-hmm. And also when the money comes, their real personality comes out. Like AB, when he got his big contract, he turned into the biggest prima donna ever. He was like, "Oh, I'm fine making this money. Let me stop playing as hard as I am." Look at him now. Look at him now.
I think the NIL deals are a double-edged sword. I think it's great. Like I said at the beginning, I think it's great that these players are getting paid for what they're doing. I think it's great that they're finally getting recognized. But you're so young. You're fresh out of high school. And like a scholarship, like you were saying, a scholarship don't mean shit to anybody anymore because guess what? You were the number one, you were a 5-star recruit coming out of California, and now you got all these offers from like Adidas and like Lululemon and whatever the fuck. You got all these offers. Lululemon's like a clothing thing for women, but
it's like a thing or some shit.
Yeah, it's like a clothing thing. But you got like all these deals, and then like you get recognized not even just like from like the NFL, but like even the WWE does stuff with the NILs and stuff like that, which is great. But the problem is like you were saying with the financial literacy, that would be great. It's just like I'm gonna stand on the hill that they should not be given that money until they are ready to enter college. And that money should be delivered not through just like a fat ass paycheck. I don't know all the semantics of it. My whole thing is I think all that money should go to their college tuition, get it paid for, their books, get it paid for, and then it's up to the parents because until they actually reach the level of being a pro, because it's not fair to those students that get NIL deals and they don't make it to the pros and they don't get any of the money for it. And then you have these players who are like these college athletes who get NILs, then they go to the league and they already have all this money, so they don't even have to try, like you guys are saying. But if you're like, okay, we're not going to give you any of this money until you actually make it to the pros, and then we'll still give you the money so that way you can do something else. Because, like I said, I think it's an age thing. I think it's a maturity thing. You were saying that student athletes have to mature faster. I get that. But some of them don't get that. And as soon as they, like you were saying, a lot of these kids don't come from shit. They come from the ghetto. And so they see $1 million, and they go through it. There should be.
So in all honesty, really just explain the scholarship in general is we're going to pay for this, your schooling, we're going to pay for your housing, we're going to pay for this. And then the rest, the parents or whoever you signed for is going to decide that. When I was in college, I got like this little tiny scholarship. And it was like funding, and they sent it right to me. So I had the power to do what I want. So I think that's how those NIL deals, because you're over 8, if you hit 18, you control your own life. At that point, you're paying shit. So I would understand if it's like these kids, because some of these kids are signing these things at 16 years old and having to wait until they get there. But like some of them, like Mikey Williams, the basketball player, he just got in trouble before he even made it to college, and he has like 4 NIL deals. And I'm sitting here like, yo, y'all gotta pull them. I would pull them immediately. Like, no way. I'm not having you represent me if you got these charges. Like, That's what I'm saying is like at that point, even with it's 16, they're starting to sign these deals, but not getting that money, and they're already acting like I'm high and mighty. So like, let's start them. Actually, let's start it. Let's start these deals at 16 so that we can see it sooner. Because it's almost like at the same time, like you tell your kid to go get a job, you're gonna tell them that they can't make that money. You're gonna take all that money from them, but they work for it.
Yeah. I'm just not a fan of the NIL idea. I am a fan of, this is where it sounds weird. I'm a fan of the NIL because I think it's great that college athletes, not high school, college athletes are getting paid for what they're doing because they're considered world-renowned athletes. They are.
And plus, a lot of these college institutions are making billions of dollars a year.
Yeah, and so it's great that they're finally
off of your name.
They're not making,
and they're not. You're not getting shit from it.
Right. And it's nice that Chris Patterson can finally make money off of what he's doing for his school. That I get, that is great, but I don't like how they're doing it. Like, I don't like how they could be like, oh, we're gonna put you on this NIL deal, and I kind of feel like it takes away from working for it. I feel like yeah, you've already made it, but then once you get the NIL deal, a lot of these players, I'm not speaking for all of them, a lot of them get fucking lazy. Because they're like, well, I'm already the best at what I'm doing, so why the fuck should I even try? I think that
I think you got to put some requirements in for it too.
Exactly.
Like, hey,
I think there should be some consequences. Yep.
Like you gotta perform at a certain level before we give you this money.
Academically and in your sports.
It's literally got to be just like a contract in the NFL that they would make it. Like, hey, you got to hit these goals in order to make this money. If you don't hit these goals, then you lost out on that money. There's like a certain down payment that you get, which is basically like the scholarship. Like, hey, we're going to pay for all this. You get this NIL deal, but the money that you want extra on top of it is like, hey, you got to reach these goals. So our NIL deals will be like, hey, we'll pay for all your schooling, your housing, all this and that. And then the money that you want to use as like your extra money that we actually give you, you got to meet these milestones. And if you don't, that sucks.
Yep.
And if you underachieve, we're going to take all that shit away.
Yep. Mm-hmm. You need to keep it. Just because you got where you are doesn't mean that you should be complacent. That's where I'm at. And I also don't like how, like, speaking when it comes to the sport, like the actual like whether it's basketball, football, whatever it is, I don't like how they take the student athlete and they're like, well, now they're like, a lot of people say that they're grooming them, like not in a good way, but they're grooming them they're not giving them the right tools. They're basically just breeding them so that way they can be good for their school, so that way their school can get money, like Alabama and Georgia. And then when they go on to the league, then they get eaten alive because they don't have an agent, they don't understand how all this other stuff. I feel like there should be like, if you're an NIL athlete, I feel like you're required to finish all 4 years of college. I feel like you're required to finish all 4 years of high school. And I don't think NIL should go to high school students. They're too young.
I wouldn't say you get the money in high school. I would say you get to sign your deals sooner and then see when you get to college, that's when it kicks in,
Yeah. But it's high school.
But that's also the extra incentive. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I got this NIL deal. I got to work hard to keep it.
Right. But I feel like
I totally get it. Like, 16. I think I would agree with the whole fact of like if you get this deal, it's not just like, all right, now I can slack off now. Like, I got it. I did my thing. Now that I got it, I can slack off. Like, no, bro, no, you got to hit these milestones. And if you underachieve, we're going to take that shit right back from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think honestly, the NIL deals are really trying to like, honestly bring competition just even, because I think that's really what it's going to do. Some of these professional athletes came from like Black historical community colleges, and they're going to be like, oh, we can get these players in here if we just get them in NIL. I'll pitch some money in for that. I want the top recruits. Like, let's do this.
Here's the question for that. Does that ruin the whole idea of having a 5-star athlete or recruiting, for example? Because then guess what? You can do what they do in soccer and over in the Premier League. You can just buy your fucking talent. Who cares?
So here's my thing. Here's what I'm thinking. Because for me, when these NIL deals came out, that was the death of amateur sports because now we're all considered professionals. You're getting paid to play a sport, you are now considered a professional.
Yep.
So, in all honesty, it's now if you make it past high school and you get an NIL deal, I consider you a professional at that point because you're actually making real money. You're going to be able to take that home, put that in a bank account, do all this shit with it. You are a real ass athlete and making real money, which means you are a professional. So I think, in all honesty, this college football shit is another way of saying like, hey, we're kind of a professional league now, like the XFL, the USFL. Like it's just like, but we're just grooming these kids,
That's why
which is exactly what you were saying, grooming these kids.
You say that though, because fucking, I was just thinking about this the other day. This generation, Gen Z in general, has changed the way that professional or athletes, student athletes, whatever the fuck you want to call them, D1 athletes, whatever the fuck you want to call them, get into a sport. Because back in the old days, you played Little League, you played in middle school and rec leagues, and then in high school, you played in high school, you prayed to God that you got a scholarship and you got recruited by a good school. Then you played your ass off in not college, and then you went to the pros. Now, a high school dropout can get into a college. He doesn't even have to go to college. He can go to the NFL, all because they saw him in some I'm not saying semi-pro is bad, but what I'm saying is like, because they saw footage of him on YouTube because of how things are on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, some wide receiver who's mossing people in a semi-pro league somewhere in fucking Florida, all of a sudden the Houston Texans see him and they go, "You want to come to our training camp?" That's crazy to me.
That's good to me because that means it's expanding all competition. They are now looking deeper into competition instead of just looking at the top 1%ers. They're now looking at, hey, like this dude down here, he's not a top 1%er, but he works his ass off like he's one. Let's give him a try. And that's why I think the Gen Zs made it good of being like, hey, even if I'm not that good, I may have like one or two good catches, and that's what's going to spark me. Like it's basically the Odell syndrome. Like, oh, I got a couple plays that made it viral, and now I'm a fucking superstar. And they mastered that shit. They mastered.
I feel that's a double-edged sword though, because I think it's great that like, I think it's awesome that like a lot of like amateur players can get more exposure, like whether it's hockey, baseball, whatever it is. But then where like, because I just playing devil's advocate, it's like, is that really fair to the player that just like didn't get picked up because he didn't make it at Maryland, and so now he had to go down to a community college and play JUCO just to get recognized by another school. Meanwhile, you got some random in Ohio tearing it up, getting like, he's the next Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not really fair to them because they worked their ass off, they mastered the craft, and because this guy is just a freak athlete, he all of a sudden gets a contract with the fucking Knicks. You know what I mean? It's just
I feel that. And that's the hard part about sports, and that's also the shitty part too. Is it's just, I saw him first and I like the way he looks. He's got what I think is going to be the best talent, and that's it. This person can be better than him, and no, fuck that. I'm taking this guy. And it's a huge ego thing in sports. In all honesty, it's like, I like this guy, and this is the guy that I'm gonna ride with. And if he fails, I fail with it.
Yeah, I also have been, and this is kind of where I want Chris to tune in. This is kind of like the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to talk about. I watched this video the other day, and this dude said, "I don't watch the draft." So you want to know why? It's modern day slavery. He goes, "Let me explain. It's a bunch of white people picking and grooming what they like about these African-American athletes. Let's be honest. 90% of the draft is all niggas. Let's be honest. But like, they're sitting there and they have them standing on this metaphorical podium, so to speak. Yeah. And they're sitting there going, "Oh, that's," and he said that we should boycott the what's it called? The combine, because you're basically seeing who's too tall, who's too short, who runs the fastest, who's stronger, who hits harder. And I wanted to get both of you guys' opinion on that, because that kind of made me think, is that modern day slavery, or is he just reaching too far? Because he's got points. Because if you think about it, it's
he's
like
got points, but it's voluntary. Like you don't gotta declare for the draft. You don't gotta go pro. You make that choice to declare for the draft and go to the combine and do all that.
but should they change the way they do it so it's not as because it's there, the elephant in the room is there. You can't just ignore it. Like you said, it is voluntary.
Yeah, we have a lot of white owners, and blah, whatever. But if let's say, I become an owner of my team, right? I want to pick the best athletes. And so if you run a slow 4.04 or a 40, you're slow as shit. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want that. Your vertical is trash. I don't want that. You know what I'm saying?
I would rather switch the format of the combine and do it in pads because nobody on the field is running with no pads and shirt and t-shirts. I would change the whole format of it and make you work in pads and a helmet and your full uniform. I would change that aspect of it because there's some people that can do really good outside of pads. Like there's those flag football players that are amazing. And then you put them into pads and they have no idea what is going on.
Right.
Their body gets all funky. So there's actually been cases where somebody trained so hard for the tests in the draft and they're not actually that good, but they get drafted really high. And then their career is trashed because they weren't actually that good, but those tests that they took made them look really good because they trained.
Zach Wilson had that bomb. Paxton Lynch, which in my opinion is probably one of the Denver Broncos' biggest bust ever. Lynch looked really good on his pro day.
Because Zach Wilson had an arm, and then all of a sudden he actually goes to the league and he's ass. But so I agree with Michael.
Make them work out in pads and your full uniform, and then make your decision on the draft. I guarantee you, everybody who's like a top 5 recruit or high in the draft pick, you make them work out in pads, and you see that they're actually shit. They go from like a 1st round to like a 5th round, super quick.
I'm glad you guys brought up owners because like y'all know it. We all are aware of it. There's not a lot of black owners in the NFL.
No.
And it's funny. It's funny to me because I broke it down like this. Well, so the NBA, for whatever reason, people associate black people with the NBA. That's our sport.
Look who's dominated the NBA.
I know. I'm getting to that. Okay. It's a predominantly black sport. So why is it not a problem? Because the owners in the NBA, there's not a lot of black owners there's not a lot of black owners in sports in general. But there's not a lot of black owners in the NBA, and there's not a lot of black owners in the NFL. So why is it more of an issue for there to not be a lot of black owners in the NFL than there's in the NBA?
Because the NBA players have all the control.
Having black owners really that big of a deal?
The players have all the control in the NBA. They literally get most of the revenue that comes in from the work from like TV deals. I would say the NBA is a lot more forward thinking about things. They see it and they're like, let's get ahead of this.
More progressive.
And with the NFL, it's like we are strictly the way that we are. We're not changing, and the times can change around us, but we may not. We'll be last to change is really what they do. Like, oh, this whole concussion thing, teams like sports were on that years before the NFL was. Then they came in like, oh shit, we're the last ones and we're having a whole bunch of scandals. Okay, let's finally take care of this then. They're going to be the last ones for everything because they're old, rich white people that don't want to change, and those are like the ones that have been passed down from generation to generation to generation in families. When NBA is still relatively young, I still think they're like, there's probably like 2 or 3, maybe 4 second or third generation owners at this point, when the NFL's are like 4, 5, 6.
The Bulls owner, I think the owner of the Bulls is like 3rd generation because he got the Bulls is a family owned franchise. Yeah, and so the Celtics
and the Pelicans before they became the Pelicans, they were owned by the Vincents.
I think the Lakers are a family owned franchise too.
Yeah, the Bus family.
Yeah, but
Bus family.
Another question.
But like Michael said, like yes, the NBA is super forward thinking. Like during the bubble, everybody was wearing Black Lives Matter jerseys. They had it on the.
I mean, the NFL did it too that year.
NFL was late. NFL was the reason why the NBA had to do it.
Yeah, that's true. But like, I think was it the NBA who was like one of the first sports to like stop testing for weed?
I think
Yep.
was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
hockey was. They actually never have started testing for weed.
Yeah, the NBA was like, we should probably start testing for weed too, because we got people players like J.R. Smith.
Maybe be off the hitty playing basketball.
I thought we had no heat.
Now the NFL, they're at this point where they're like, we're still going to test you, but it's going to be within this short period of time right here. So you can do whatever you want before then, but when you get into this period and you get caught, then you're in trouble.
So here's a question. Is it the lack of black owners or is it the lack of young owners?
I thought it's the lack of young owners. Because like Mike Michael said, the NFL has a lot of old, rich, white guys like Jerry Jones.
That man needs to go to the team. And even his son can't take the team. Like his son's just as old as him, damn near.
Yeah.
They still have that fucking 70s mentality.
Right. So I'm like, and they grew up at a time where marijuana was demonized by Nixon and fucking Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so of course they probably still think like they still have the mentality like, hey, weed is bad, so I'm not gonna allow my players to smoke weed. Even though there's been countless medical reports on the positive usage of marijuana. But like, these owners are stuck in their ways, so they're not gonna be like, and so the ownership also goes through like Godell. So the NFL is not gonna change. They're gonna change a little bit, just a little bit.
And it's a business.
It's a business. So of course, a lot of businesses have the anti-drug policy. You can't come to work smelling like marijuana or you're gonna get sent home, blah, blah, blah. Whatever.
And then the political reason too is like, think of how much money players are using, or like how much money players are spending on big pharma drugs just to make themselves play the next week.
Right.
Like right. That's a lot.
So that marijuana is going to take a lot of money out of like Walgreens, CVS, all that. They're going to be like, hey, whoa. This guy spends millions of dollars a month on concussion pills or whatever the fuck that we have out there. So like Michael said, so he can actually play next week. Because we saw the NFL last year fail Tua. They failed Tua big time. So I'm like, I can only imagine the drug cocktail they cooked up for Patrick Mahomes during the Super Bowl.
This man could barely walk, and you're telling me he's running full speed on a hurt ass ankle that he's literally like, yeah, I have like a grade 2 sprain. I know what a grade 2 sprain is. You can't run on that. That's not normal.
That's what I'm saying. They had to cook up a major drug cocktail during halftime.
So is that the NFL's problem, or is that Kansas City Chiefs owner's problem?
Both. I think it falls on both, because the medical doctors probably had that nigga high as shit on like adrenaline, wrapped his ankle, probably gave him Michael Jordan stuff from Space Jam. Water? Which is and they were like, Patrick, go. We got a Super Bowl, but we can't let Jalen Hurts win this shit. We got a dynasty to build, damn it.
So I'm glad you said that, because that leads into my other thing, and it's still talking about the owners and stuff. Do you think that when it comes to sports, I don't want to sound old, but because football is a very barbaric sport. It's a very aggressive sport.
It is very
Do you think that with these current owners and like the current times in the NFL, do you think that they on purpose crank up the intensity and the physicality of, even in the NBA, there's a lot more physicality in the NBA. Do you think they're doing that for their end goal, to make more revenue, to make more TV, for more TV ratings and things like that, and putting the players at risk? Or is that just an evolving of the game?
I would say that is the fans' fault, because we crave it. We need destruction. We need chaos. That's what keeps us here. That's why they can keep being like, oh, well, we can bounce around this concussion thing because you guys still want the chaos. You're mad that we won't let you hit the quarterback. Okay, well, let's create 2 new leagues where you could destroy the quarterback.
Yeah.
And there's people out there that are like loving it because they're like, this is what we wanted. This is old school football. It's because of the fans that we do this.
I didn't even think of it like that.
I didn't even think about fans.
I did not even think about that. Because if you think about it, like,
he's right though. How many times do you see people complain about the roughing the passer rule?
This is roughing the passer.
Right. My quarterback, I can lay Michael down nice and gently, cover him with a nice warm blanket, put a nice cup of milk by him, be like, all right, cool. Roughing the passer. What the fuck?
And now they're gonna go to the extreme of like taking it to be like, okay, we're gonna do it to where you can basically destroy the quarterback, and then we're gonna be like, hey, he just got absolutely annihilated. That was disgusting. That was a little too much. Tone it down, which is the balance that they have to keep doing.
So do you think that? I mean, I see your point, but just to kind of play devil's advocate again, do you think that it also has to do with the evolution of some of these players? Because if you look at it, and this is going back to high school and college, I saw a picture of this kid. He's in 6th grade. Motherfucker's 6'10", 273 pounds.
Wears a size 23 shoe.
Yeah. So do you think that it has to do with the evolution of the players and the fact that you got this skinny ass white quarterback just getting destroyed by this behemoth? Or is it the fans?
But I mean, on the same side, we had Cam Newton growing up. He's 6'6", 250, and he's getting destroyed. And we were all about it because we were like, he's getting back up. He's got this. And then it turned into when he got destroyed in the Super Bowl, and then the next game against the Broncos again, when they were fucking him up, they were like, this is hard to watch. We got to tone it down. And then that's what the fans were saying. And they were like, okay, well, now we can't do this to the quarterback. And now we're to the point where we're like, okay, yeah, y'all went a little too far. Can you?
What do you think happened though? Because
also the rest were not protecting Cam Newton at all. But you have quarterbacks like Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers.
Listen to that pattern. They're all.
It was like.
Because we wanted to see Tom Brady play. He couldn't play because he tore his ACL, and they made the rule of like you can't hit him in the legs.
Right.
But what Chris was saying, all the quarterbacks he just named that got protected are all white. And again, this goes back to my owner thing.
You can put race in that, but like
I think it is.
Like Michael said, but like who was the face of the franchise for the Saints for the longest time? It was Drew Brees. Let's be real. Who was the face of the Patriots? It was Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Who was the face for the Packers? Aaron Rodgers. So, of course, you're going to do everything in your power to protect your face of your franchise. And so you can say, for Carolina, Cam Newton was the franchise, but he's a young quarterback. He's not really established yet. So the refs are like, yeah, whatever, fuck it. The fans love it. Like, going back to Michael's point, the fans were hella excited to see this man, Cam Newton, get destroyed every week.
The season they went to the Super Bowl, he literally was getting destroyed, flipping into the end zone, and everybody was like, yeah.
Same with Josh Allen. Josh Allen said, like, bro, you are a quarterback. Stop flipping, Josh.
You are a civilian.
Right. You're not a running back. You're not a linebacker. You are a quarterback.
Here's where I'll agree with you on this one, Zim. That is the evolution of the game now, is because now the game is turning into a mobile game. And you get hurt more as a quarterback sometimes when you're running around and getting mobile, but that's also the territory. When you play football, that's the territory. You may run and you may get hurt. That's literally what you signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
I got caught by the turf monster. Was like, oh, I knew that could have happened.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I 100% agree with that. My whole thing is I'm not so like because like my whole thing is like Chris is saying, it could be a race thing, and I like the reason I want to highlight that and make it into a race thing is because I want to go back to the owners. And like, do you think that would be different if the roles were flipped? And do you think that the fans would be less volatile about the intensity and aggressiveness and physicality of the NFL if the roles are flipped and it was all black owners with white players? Because we all know how pure white people are in this state, in this country, let's be honest. Or do you think it would be the same?
I think it would be the same. I think It's the money. It's the money. That's as much as we want to put it as race, the money drives us all because that's what we really want. These players are playing for the money. These owners are staying in this for the money. The fans are in this. The fans are in this because we're spending money on our teams.
Right.
It's all about the money. And the fans will come out and say, hey, we don't like this because, this and this. And the team starts losing money, they stop doing it.
Right.
So I think no matter what, it's going to be about the fans, honestly, because it's supply and demand. What do you guys want? You want this? We'll give you this. You didn't like that? All right, we'll change it up. We'll flip it on you. What do you like? You didn't like that? All right, we'll try this. We'll try that. You didn't like this? Cool. We'll take notes of all that.
It all revolves like, yeah, money rules everything, man. That's what it does. Like, money's the motivator.
Yeah.
And now, have you noticed that like the color of the quarterback is definitely changing, especially with this draft class?
Yep. The top 3 quarterbacks were black.
The only white quarterback. I think Will Levis was literally the only white quarterback, and I think
Stenson, the one from Georgia.
That's right. Yeah,
And
he went in the 4th round to the Rams.
Oh,
yeah,
which I think is actually kind of a steal. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I feel like the NFL, like you were saying, I'm glad you said this because the NFL is becoming prehistoric compared to the NBA, and I feel like I feel like as we progress in this new generation has more of a say in how we consume media and how we like see things and social media and stuff. The NBA has picked up, and this might be a hot take. You guys could probably agree with me though. The NBA has become way more popular than the NFL. I will say that because of how in touch the NBA is, with how in touch Adam Silver is, with how and on top of that, they listen to Gen Z so fucking much that like they start
and also the players in the NBA are very outspoken as well.
They let them speak.
You know what changes those two sports exactly? Like, do you want to know what's a big change between those two sports? Contracts. Contracts are fully guaranteed in the NBA. Every single dime that they sign for, they get. In the NFL, you do not sign that. You sign like roster bonuses. You get this if you get that. It's not all guaranteed. So we can see this dude's like, oh, Lamar Jackson just got a $255 million contract, but 185 of it's guaranteed. The rest of that, he may not even see.
That's bullshit.
Right.
Because he has to say one of his goals that he has to make is make it to a Super Bowl, $1 million. Make it to a Pro Bowl, $500,000. Make 5,000 yards passing, $5,000 or $500,000. Like those are the bonuses that they put in there in order to be like, yeah, it says 256 million, but you're only getting this guaranteed, and the rest is, fluff.
Yeah, it's crazy because like, and we don't even like. Let's not even get into the money of the sports because if I looked at this number the other day, and this is the only reason I brought it up. The NBA has made more than the NFL since COVID. And people say that, people go, what the fuck? No, they didn't. You got the Super Bowl has more TV ratings than the NBA championship. No, it doesn't. The NBA Finals has more of a draw than the NFL, than the Super Bowl.
Because, in the NFL, it's kind of like, you can already kind of guarantee, like, the Chiefs are going to make a deep run.
The scripting is more active in the NFL. The
Bills might make a deep run. There's teams you can predict who are going to be Super Bowl hopefuls, playoff hopefuls. With the NBA, it's so unpredictable.
Yeah, you don't know. Fucking
it used to not be though. It used to not be. Remember, because maybe remember how LeBron? We'd be like, yeah, it's LeBron, and then everybody else, or it was LeBron and Golden State and everybody else. And now it's literally so open.
We don't know who. I'm like, I don't know who's going to the finals this year.
Literally,
I don't know who's going to be. I'll be surprised if the Lakers make the finals.
Nobody thought Miami was beating fucking
Milwaukee. They were an 8 seed going up against the
playoffs.
Yeah. So you see an 8 seed take out Milwaukee, you're like, what the fuck? Of course, I'm gonna tune into that more than the NFL. I'm like, I already know Saints are gonna do something.
Also to bring up your point that you said earlier that I love, that I just now thought about, is you're right. It might be we need younger owners because the NBA has a lot of young owners.
They have a lot.
A lot. One of the reasons why the Hawks are about to implode is because they have a 27-year-old kid who's the owner's son running the team.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
He's the reason why they got DeJounte Murray.
Yep.
Because he was like, I want him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be the change, is literally if the NFL can follow that, because we literally have the prehistoric freaking owners in the NFL. Like, you look at them and you're like, dude, aren't you like 107 years old now? Like, what? Why?
Like,
What?
I think he passed away, but Paul Allen, when he was the owner of the Seahawks, he was one of the youngest owners in the league.
Mm-hmm. And he was old.
He was old as shit. Like, he was like, Paul Allen was old as shit, but still, he was one of, and that's why, and that's why I brought it up, because Paul Allen was young. He was in touch with the younger crowd. He would talk to the fans like, what do you guys want? What does the young generation want? It's not like, okay, what do I want? What am I going to want to see? Why? Like, because all these old heads are stuck to old school football ways. Like I said, with the NBA, the reason why the NBA is so successful now, and Bahami Jones was talking about this on his show. He was like, the way we even view basketball is so different now, because we have TikTok channels like Overtime, House of Highlights. There's like another one, and then we haven't even talked about this. AAU is so fucking nuts now that like
it started with us though. I think it's hilarious because a lot of these kids are getting the things that we had to walk for, or that we had to like crawl for them to walk on the same path.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Nobody take AAU.
I love it, but at the same time, I'm like, y'all got it so easy in some ways.
Yeah.
You got the NBA G League. You know, you can be called up to the NBA at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Like Gary Payton Jr.
Who else? I think PJ Tucker was a G leaguer.
The dude who just played the dunk contest.
Yeah, dude. That was okay.
Matt McClung or whatever his name is.
Who on the dunk contest? He was a G leaguer, got caught up with the Knicks.
Yeah,
he's been a sensation for a long time. He's been around for a long time. He's been known since high school about being a dunker though, so he's already been known.
Right, but I'm glad, because that's my point. Is like, you don't see that in the NFL. The only guy that I know in the NFL that's really doing some shit is Destroying. I know, I'm sure you guys know who that is.
Yeah.
He's not even on the team.
He's not even on a team. Yeah. But you know how long he's been trying to get on a team?
Right.
He's an amazing talent. I see his videos every once in a while, and I'm like, dude, that's fucking amazing. Some of these punters can't do that shit. Like, why are you not on a team?
Right.
Right.
And you know what's really fucked up about his story, if you don't know his story, is that he had to choose between him making content or football.
And he chose content. And they were like,
and they're like, no, you don't get a scholarship, which is so fucked up. And that's only in the game of football. You don't see that in
And that's also why he's happy about these NIL deals, is because they were taking a scholarship because of the fact that he was making money.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy to me, because like the NBA is starting to evolve. Like, they're making AAU seem like it's another fucking, like, it's a tournament. Like, if you go to an AAU game now, you're like, what? But when we were growing up, AAU was just something to do during the summer.
Yeah, it was just a random event. Like, hey, I'm still trying to keep in shape for basketball.
That's it. And now AAU is like, you're a high school kid, you did really, really well. We'll see you in 4 years. You're like, hey, he's like 15.
You also got the Drew League too.
Yeah.
Got the Drew League.
The Drew League is nasty.
LeBron and DeMar DeRozan and like Kyrie Irving playing in the Drew League. You're like, it must be a slow summer.
Right. And that's what I love about the NBA, because the NBA gives their players so much freedom. You don't have.
I also think it's also like, you can't do that with football very often. Like, you literally have to plan out either like an entire like stadium or whatever. Like, they don't have those opportunities to just like walk into a court and be like, we can start a league here. Fuck it.
Right. And I really wish that there were more player owned. Like, you know what I feel like?
Don't forget about Ice Cube's Big Three for like older basketball
players. So many ways to become an NBA player nowadays, dude. There's very
and
few.
That's why I'm loving all these like USFL, the XFL. Like I'm loving these leagues, bro. Like I still love the Canadian Football League. I still love Arena League. Like this is amazing for the game of football because it's expanding more.
So those didn't start becoming big till just recently. Again, like you were saying, the NBA
XFL was doing great
till COVID
and then
hit.
COVID was like shut it down. And it's doing. I think it's doing great now too. Now that COVID's fucking everything over. And you like you said, USL football. We have football year round now, which is fucking great.
Fucking awesome. Like you could literally be like, I could play if you don't like playing in the spring or if you don't like playing in the fall, you could be like, I want to play in the USFL. I want to play in the XFL. Like eventually they may not get as big as the NFL, but they're gonna give them a run for their money.
You think that at some point that this is gonna hurt the NFL's money though? No. Or the NBA's money?
No, not at all. Because those
think about it though. It's like you guys were saying these great points. But think about the fact that like you have all these college athletes who aren't in the draft. They go undrafted. They're 5-star recruits, this, that, and the third. They get these NILs, everything that we were talking about. And then they're like, I can't make it to the NFL. What the fuck? I'm going to go to the USFL. I'm going to go to the G League.
But here's the thing. Like, was it PJ Tucker? Not PJ Tucker.
Yeah, you can still get plucked into the NFL from those leagues.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt their money at all. It's just going to be like, hey, now that we see that he was good there, let's bring that money here.
Right.
So is that more so having a separate league or is it just a factory?
It's just a separate league, but it's just you see that if I'm an owner of an NFL team, I see that this guy's doing he's killing it in the USFL. I'm like, hey, we can add him as a backup,
It's more a slight on the scouting because you never know who actually is going to take off on you. You never really know because you get those star players that just become shit because they're like, I'm not putting in that work. I'm just going to do the same thing I did in college, and you can't do that. And then you get those guys that are like, no, they're undrafted. They make it to the team, and they're so elated that they're going to do whatever they can. It's more a testament to the draft, like how people scout others. And again, that's ego.
I think that also has to do with, again, going back to like owners and shit. I think that's a big testament to these younger owners because older owners aren't going to do that shit. A lot of owners are going to be like, no, we're sticking to the draft. That's how we do these things. And I think that's why the NBA, their farming system, is so much better than the NFL. And that's why the NBA has more ratings because you got freaks in nature like John Morant who's fucking jumping 30 feet in the air. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a freak in nature.
Oh, you had Zion who grew up through high school.
Yeah.
High school up in the NBA because he's literally just doing 360 dunks in high school games.
And you got kids who are like 14 who are already being recognized. So I think a lot of it has to do with this. Like, I think that the NBA owes a lot of thank you to Gen Z because if it wasn't for Gen Z using TikTok and social media and like you got like using you for example, Michael, like you're like, who wants to go out and throw with me? I guarantee you, some kids walking and they see you catching. All they gotta do is just open up TikTok. Next thing you know, Michael Schoenbaum getting blown up, and then in a year and a half, he's playing for the fucking, you know what I mean? Like,
right?
Literally. And that's literally that's why I'm saying like these kids mastered that, but it still hasn't quite made its way to football because destroying is the first one to try and do it. He's the one that's going to break open the doors. When he finally gets the contract, that opens the doors wide open because that's what's really holding the NFL back right now is because I see so many videos and I'm like, God dang. And then that's the only video I see. And then they end up making it to the NFL as like some random person and they pop up again out of nowhere. And you're like, I think I saw them like in that video, like Lamar Jackson. Remember that video where he's like, he does a little juke and he goes, oh, and just walks.
So old in high school? Yeah.
No one knew that was him until recently.
Stop.
This boy
walked in. Yeah.
This boy hit him with the Michael Jordan and was like,
no one knew that was him up until like 2 years ago.
Yeah, because the video resurfaced.
I didn't know that was.
I had no idea.
That's Lamar Jackson thing. I didn't know until Sports posted it on Instagram. Like, remember this old Lamar Jackson?
We were like, nigga, no.
That was Lamar
See?
It's like you're fucking.
But that's also another thing, though, is do you want to know what's actually starting to take off really funny, which is something that I hate it. I'm not gonna lie, like I don't like it because I think it's a weak version of football. But flag football, that's why it's getting so big because most of the highlights we're seeing now is like 7-on-7 games. And you're seeing these kids moss people with one hand over 3 people, and you're like, oh. But these kids aren't playing tackle; they just playing flag, and flag has actually got like a huge league now.
Yeah.
So
You know,
they're taking it to flag instead of taking it to like NFL is what they're doing.
oh yeah, for sure. And I don't know. I just feel like again, that's all attesting to the NBA being super progressive because they listen to like Gen Z and they're like, who's this random dude that was just doing? Who's this random dude that was doing? And Chris brought up a good point. And
about the dunk contest?
Chris brought up a good point about the dunk contest because I'm glad you said something about the dunk contest. Because Chris was like, if they want to make the dunk contest interesting and not have all the big major league.
Can we explain it?
Yeah.
So here's what I said about the dunk contest. You have all these athletes who are like, I'm not doing the dunk contest. John Morant said he's not doing it. Aaron Gordon said he's not doing it anymore because he's been cheated. I was like,
robbed.
Cool. He got robbed. Like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Don't let the NBA players do it. All of these dudes you see doing like crazy ass dunks on like YouTube and shit, have them do the dunk contest. It would be 10 times more interesting. We'd be seeing more innovative dunks. I'd be like, I don't know who this dude is, but this dude just threw it behind his back and did a fucking 360. Never seen that shit before. That's new. That would bring people back to the All-Star. I don't even watch All-Star anymore. I'm like, All-Star. For me, All-Star is like, okay, after All-Star's done, where are the Bulls at in seeding?
You know,
that's when I start paying. I'm like, I don't even.
I pay attention, but
I haven't watched the All-Star game since like 2008, bro, because that's back when it was still competitive and people were actually trying. And now it's like, just get to the score, shoot as many threes as possible.
You got them dropping like 100. You got them dropping like 200 points in the All-Star game.
And you got them doing windmill 360s and shit that we can see in the dunk contest, but you don't want to do the dunk contest. But you're going to do these dunks in the game. Where's your logic at?
They're having so like the NBA is also doing a good job with that because now they're implementing more things to be like, okay, if you guys don't like the dunk contest or like this, we got the 3-point contest since that's new. We got the skills challenge, and like the NFL is just now being like, okay, you guys have hated the Pro Bowl for 20 years because ain't nobody doing shit. We'll just cancel it.
I don't think they should have canceled it. They should have just done something different. Because we look back in the day,
Put the incentives back in there.
I can fix the Pro Bowl. You take the worst team of the AFC, take the worst team of the NFC, have them play for the number 1 pick. There you go.
Or if you want to make it, even more interesting, make them do what they do in Premier League soccer. They play for regulation or not? Yeah, regulation. So what they do is, for example, you have from last year, you have Jacksonville and Houston. They play, and whoever is the worst team in regulation, they get relegated down to the USFL. That'd be so much more interesting.
Honestly, because if you're really that good of an NFL team and you're going up against these USFL teams, even the worst NFL team should dominate that.
Right. I'm like the Pro Bowl is not fun to watch.
No.
Every time I hear about the Pro Bowl, I'm like, yep, a waste of my damn time.
I think it was flag football.
Didn't they make it flag football this year?
Yeah, it's flag football. It's flag football from now on, and then they do skills challenges.
Well, they used to do the skill challenges back in the day.
So yeah, that's. But back in the day, they were actually competing still. Now it's like we're just going to have fun. Like we're just gonna 2-hand touch. No, bro, I wanted to see the best players go up against the best players.
Yeah, I think what they should do.
So here's what they should do with the Pro Bowl last year. Like I said, the worst team in the AFC was Houston last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the worst team in the NFC, which was Chicago. Have them play for the number 1 pick. You're gonna see the most competitive football you ever seen in your life.
Or, like I said, why doesn't the NFL do like a play-in tournament?
How would that work?
Because
week 18. Because week 18 is hypothetically a bye week for all teams, or at least the teams that didn't have a bye week in the middle of the season. Mm-hmm. That would be the deciding week where you could do it.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that would be the regulation week too, because then so the week before the playoffs, because I think there's a gap week in between the playoffs.
Yep.
So before the playoffs, they have a tournament with the worst 8 teams in the league, like the bottom, being a soccer fan, the bottom half of the table, which would be like the worst teams in the league. The winner of that tournament gets the number 1 draft pick. The loser gets regulated down to the USFL or the XFL. That'd be so much more exciting.
Yeah.
It really would. It really would.
These owners, the thing is, like, the owners are just so
it all goes back to the owners. And I really think that we need younger owners, but the NFL just doesn't want to fucking listen because we're stuck in their ways.
But also, if that does happen, it hypothetically causes a monopoly because one of those companies has to be the hierarching company over them all and own it all.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now
So that would hypothetically cause a monopoly, and they could get sued like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right now you done created a power vacuum between the USFL and the XFL and the CFL. So
Yep.
So
hey, I know this is completely off topic, and I have to say, because I am wearing my wrestling hat, Endeavor buying WWE. How do y'all feel?
What was that?
Endeavor buying WWE. How do y'all feel?
Oh, I mean,
as long as it stays, as long as nothing really changes,
nothing's changing
on our end.
Nothing is changing.
I'm cool.
Okay, so to wrap it up, it's still sports. So sports. And this is why I'm glad somebody even said something. Nothing is changing in the WWE. Nothing will change in the WWE. People hit the panic button because the Raw at the Mania is supposed to be the biggest Mania of all, the biggest Raw of the year. It sucks.
It hasn't been for like 10 years.
Well, no, the last good one was probably a couple years ago. But it sucked because Vince had his hands in it. But everyone hit the panic button and they're like, oh, Triple H is in control. WWE, this buyout was the worst thing ever. Da, 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 da. You want to know why WWE merged with UFC? Fucking money and revenue. The UFC has been
what they made like $9 billion from that sale.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's money, and it's like money rules. Like you were saying, money rules everything. They know that nothing is going to change creatively, but people just freak the fuck out because they're like, "Well, Vince is back in creative." Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. I guarantee you, those fucks at UFC are not gonna let Vince touch creative because they know that the product for WWE has been top tier since October, September when Triple H came into power, creative power. It's been top tier since, and they've had bigger buy rates, they've had bigger gate buys than they ever had in the last 20 years that Vince was in control. And now that Triple H is running it, they're like, oh shit, Triple H is making his money. Vince, you can still do what you do, just stay the fuck away from creative.
Right.
I know that's what they're doing.
I am okay because I stopped watching for a while because I realized how out of touch Vince McMahon became. So I stopped watching, and then I probably picked back up about 3 years ago. Yeah, about 3 years ago. And I've been like hooked since. And I've noticed the change since Triple H took over, and I'm loving it. It's like it's actually good wrestling again. Like the storylines match. It's long-term storytelling.
Yeah,
and that's what I
like the bloodline storyline. Holy shit!
Oh fuck!
Such a long time.
Bro,
Yeah.
this whole storyline, I think that's honestly what has kept me involved for a lot of it, is because there's still that dumb shit that happened when Vince was in control, but the bloodline kept me really in it because I was like, hey, they keep giving me snippets of bloodline. I gotta keep watching. I'll sit through this match.
Yeah, I mean, being somebody because and Triple H is because Triple H, and I'm glad because it kind of goes back to owners. And it's the fact of Triple H is a younger owner.
Vince is old and out of touch. He's an old, rich white man, just like everybody in the NFL, and he's rich and out of touch.
He's not. He's like, I guess he kind of owns the company, but Triple H is a younger owner, if you want to call it that. So guess what? He's going to listen to the fans more. There's a problem with wrestling fans though, compared to all the other like NFL fans and stuff like that. They don't fucking listen. They don't know what the hell they want because they're like, give us Cody. Now all of a sudden they're like, they give you Coda. We don't want Cody. And then they're like, okay, now put the title on Rhea. No, we don't want Rhea. What the fuck do you want? So it's
who's hating on Rhea's reign already?
There's a lot of people. Wrestling fans are very fickle. You should know this.
Yeah,
Wrestling fans. True. These are the same people that want to live.
I can't say much because I'm gonna love Rhea no matter what. So I don't care what they do with her.
Yeah. I mean, these are the same people that want to Liv Morgan as champion. And then as soon as they put the title on, they turned on her. So don't listen to wrestling fans.
I don't think WWE set her up in a good way. They made her look like a shit-ass champion. I love Liv as a champion, but I think they could have done a better job with her.
You see the same thing about Big E and Kofi.
You know the plan
for Big E and Kofi?
Big E. Oh, bro, Big E's title reign was, man. And guess who ended it? Of course, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, but here's the and you know it's
I keep trying to tell you, Brock Lesnar don't like blacks.
Here's the thing.
Was that the fourth time reign he's ended for a black man?
Here's the thing about Kofi. They had planned on taking the title off of Kofi the week after he won it.
Yeah, but Kofi Mania was too hot.
Well, no, they like the plan was already submitted. They're like, we're gonna wait until the SmackDown series premiere, and we're gonna take the title off Kofi because they had it was Vince. Now, if it was Triple H, yeah, but it's one of those things that it's just like
crazy thing is if Ali didn't get hurt,
it would have been Ali.
That would have been Ali's push.
Yeah,
that's the thing that blows my mind. I'm like, damn.
I would like to have
Mustafa Ali.
Because Mustafa Ali got injured, and so it was supposed to be him that was supposed to win the Elimination Chamber match, and he was supposed to win that gauntlet match, and then he was supposed to get the push and face Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. But because he got hurt, they had Kofi Kingston come in, and he won the gauntlet match, and then he won the Elimination Chamber match, and that's why he got put into it.
And look at where Mustafa Ali is now, man. What a tragedy, dog. That shit sucks for him.
Yeah, crazy how one injury just derails everything.
It happens a lot, but
we
could talk about wrestling all day. But
yeah, let's get back to the point. My bad.
But I just wanted to, get everybody on here and talk about how sports have changed and how how things have how Gen Z has kind of put their grasp on how we view sports. And I think that the NFL has a lot of work to do. I think they need to catch up. I think the MLB also has a lot of work to do because a lot of people, John will disagree, but Major League Baseball is dying. So something needs to happen with Major League Baseball.
Dying, but
bro, I can't stand even watching it live, bro. Like it is. God.
So, it depends on what team you go to see, though. Because if you go to Rockies game, you're gonna be bored as shit because they're not a winning team.
Yep, that's exactly the point. The Rockies suck ass.
We're a winning team. We're a winning franchise. You can go to any World Series team, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Giants, the Cardinals. You name if they have a World Series, they're all about winning.
My closing note is I think if we learn anything from Gen Z, they know the analytics and they know what works. And I think that there needs to be a timetable on how long you can be an owner in the NFL. And I think that there needs to be a changing of the guard in the NFL. I think that player safety needs to be more of a problem. I think that they need to be more progressive. They need to let the players speak out more. There's a lot of work that they need to do. And I think that Gen Z is doing a good job of doing that. So I'm really excited to see what happens in the next 5 years. I also think Roger Goodell needs to get the fuck out of position and let somebody else do it.
Roger Goodell needs to fuck.
Be up for another 10 years, so we ain't gonna see a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Goodell needs to go bye-bye.
He's like the Mitch McConnell of the NFL.
Oh God.
So,
but no, yeah, I appreciate you having me on because I definitely think over the next 5 to 10 years, sports are going to change for sure.
Oh yeah, we're gonna start playing. It's not even gonna be anybody physically playing. It's just gonna be all VR. It's gonna be all in the metaverse,
But I don't care how much Zuckerberg pushed that. I'm not getting into the metaverse. You're not gonna make me use the metaverse, Zuckerberg. You're gonna have to kill me, dog.
But y'all know us. Y'all know the socials. Michael, you can shout out whatever it is that you got going on. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Patreon,
Instagram, MySpace.
Nigga.
I don't care. I'm gonna bring it back.
Bring back MySpace. Bring back MySpace.
That's the goal. You know what? You know who would love sports?
Chief Keef.
That's our president. So
imagine Chief Keef being the president of the
NFL. Shit, I would make the NFL so much better. Let Chief Keef be the commissioner.
Everybody got a blicky on him. If you don't run past 5 yards, you get shot. You know who needs to be?
Lose a lot of players real quick.
Yeah. Needs to be the owner of a team though?
Kevin Hart.
Why is he not the owner of the Eagles yet?
Right, like let him buy the Eagles.
Right. Just saying.
Didn't one of the owners that bought the Commanders, isn't one of them black? Because I think there was like a whole group that went in on it, and one of the dudes is black. I'm pretty sure.
I didn't really look into much of.
I'm just glad that the old owner of the Commanders
Dan Snyder
is fucking gone. He was a fucking problem.
Bro, he should have been gone like 15 years ago.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh yeah. Like I said, there should be there should be more black owners in the NFL. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, wrap it up. I think it was good having you on the show. We'll have to do it again some other time. We'll have to do a wrestling episode next time. So
we'll do one for
yeah, we'll probably do set up something up for Backlash, even though that's like next week.
Or Night of Champions.
Night of Champions.
Because I want to see who gets the new championship though.
Yeah, hey, that championship is beautiful.
It is. I think it's pretty. I don't care what anybody says. I think it's pretty. Now just give me my goddamn women's intercontinental championship.
No. That's never happening. Maybe now the Trips is in charge. I could see that happening.
But all right, my boy. Peace, love, hair grease.
I'll catch y'all later. I'll be back.
You're.
먼저 키스를 시작했네.